His contribution in the field of tree improvement and biotechnology has been well recognized world over. He is the only Indian so far received the prestigious Y.S. Rao Forestry Research Award 2003 of the Asia Pacific Association Forestry. He got the Brandeis Prize twice by the Indian Forester. He has visited various countries and published 150 research articles to his credit, and has also published a book on tree improvement. He has released one clone of Zalmoges Shisho for North India, and the clone has been in great demand by the growers owing to higher productivity and disease resistance for dieback of the shisham. Recently, he has released 10 varieties of Melia dubia for commercial cultivation with average productivity of 34.3 meter cube per hectare per year. And this species has been considered one of the most focused species under agroforestry system for plains and mountains regions, which is up to 1800 MSL. And he has been in a great demand for industries for timber, plywood, and pulpwood. He has also been instrumental in releasing 3 varieties or productive varieties or clones of eucalyptus for northern India, which are resistant to devastating gall insect, and his interest in genetic improvement of tree and medicinal plant is well recognized and appreciated world over. So to begin today's session, now I would like to request our distinguished speaker, Dr. Ashok Kumar sir, to kindly share his experience with our audience. Sir.
To begin with, let me thank Dr. Shivani and her team from College of Horticulture and Forestry for having selected me as one of the speakers, which I feel is a matter of pride and honor for me. But while Dr. Shivani was introducing me, perhaps he forgot to introduce that she is one of my, brilliant students, and I'm happy that that she is there. And then, so I have been asked to basically speak on impact of tree improvement in perspective of sustained forest ecosystems. It's a vast subject. I suppose I would not be able to really justify the subject, but since she's my student, she has one way or other convinced me to speak on this topic. But yes, tree improvement is my favorite subject, and therefore I would go and try to justify. I understand the audience are basically UG and PG students. So in case there is an issue, Dr. Shivani, you can either put me a question, or stop, or ask me to modify the presentation in case it goes other way around. So let's begin with this. See, my friends, tree improvement tree improvement as goes by definition, it's nothing but an application of genetic principles to increase value of tree crops, to enhance economic returns from wood and wood products by realizing variations that occur naturally or created artificially. Put this definition to any of the context. Say, for example, one is working on fisheries. So rather than tree crops, it would be fisheries, and so on and so forth. Or maybe horticulture sciences, or animal sciences, or crop sciences. But let's not go much with the definition, but let's look the component of it. There are few things one needs to be really very, very careful about it. We need to know what exactly we are selecting, because it's the selection which goes on for years and years and generations to generations to really show the kind of results we would have been expecting out of our program. We need to analyze the genetic variation and how basically the diversity in a material on which you are going to work upon. We have to see the adaptation of appropriate building method. One particular method would perhaps not work for all the tools and techniques, would not work for all the crops, would not work for all the systems as a whole. The moment crop changes, the moment genotype changes, the method of breeding would also change equally. We will have to see the functional conservation strategies, what kind of conservation you really do, because it's not that you select the material, you keep it, you need to conserve it, you need to use it in an appropriate manner at an appropriate time, and then therefore you'll have to have an efficient propagation technique. When I say propagation, it might be confused with only clonal propagation, but propagation means multiplication of those desired individuals by one or others mean. It could be seeds, it could of course be tissue culture you could use, it could be vegetative propagation using macro and micro propagation, and at times even it could be the apomixis. And then we'll have to see how those cultivars which have really been you know developed by you are going to the farmers, to the growers, to end users. I'm not able to operate my slides, Shivani. What is wrong?
Scroll down, sir. Scroll it, sir.
I'm scrolling, it's not
Sir,
functioning.
use the tab, sir. Left, right tab.
Oh yeah, I'm using that only. But
So it's
somehow it's
moving, sir. It's
anyways,
moving.
anyways, this is makeshift arrangement. Why this is coming all the time? See waiting room and all that. Can I get rid of this? Sorry, can I just get rid of this, Shivani? Anyways, so we were talking about tree improvement as a whole. Now let's look what are the components basically it covers. Any tree improvement program basically will cover the determination of a species and source of variation. There could be many kind of variations, but the two variations on which here we would be concentrating, one is that of genetic variations, which basically is created due to a genotypic ability of an individual, and the geographical variations in which it is either grown or from which it has either been collected. We'll have to determine the quantum, kind, and cause of variability within a species, because we will be working on different genotypes of a particular species, and therefore variation counted upon within a species is equally important. Of course, within a species and between a species there are two kind of variations, but here I am taking variation which is within a species. We will have to package all those good qualities into a one particular genotype, and that genotype is really going to be used for further programs. I mean to say is that you look forward for X character from one genotype and Y character from another genotype, and try to bring them together in a single genotype, so that you have all those desirable characteristics available within a single genotype for your purposes. And then you need to really then develop those mass production tools by which you can commercially multiply it, by which you can commercially deploy it, and really use it in the benefit of the for the benefit of the farmers. And you need to also develop and maintain the base population with wide genetic base for future programs, because once you develop a line or you develop a genotype for commercial cultivation, that's not an end. I feel that is the beginning, because once the particular genotype comes into the commercial level, then you have a challenge, much bigger challenge, to have more genotypes available or selection or production which are better than this particular genotype. So your challenge becomes much more bigger every single time you develop a variety for a commercial program. Now let's look the tree improvement program. I'm not talking much wider. I will be concentrating on trees as I have been asked by the organizers. So look at those tree improvement program. It has few very small components which I thought I would be discussing with you. and they are very simple. One is, what exactly is the aspect of applied tree improvement program? Friends, if I could just intimate you, we are not very, we don't go into a big history of tree improvement. Tree improvement, perhaps in India, is the latest branch of genetics, whereby trees were considered to be improved genetically for various purposes. We started our program somewhere in late 1950s. So we are not more than 70, 80 years, or about 65, 70 years old branch. Then we'll have to also look at what are those forest genetic and tree improvement potentials that can really increase our productivity. You may ask me, why do we really need productivity to be improved? But that I would be answering the next slides. And then the third very important factor is, what are those factors responsible for meeting earlier two factors? And this could be divided into three factors. One is the importance of the parents. You will have to understand, in a tree improvement program, the parents play a vital role, a very, very big role. We would be discussing stage by stage how the parents are really going to be very, very important in days to come, in any of the programs to come. Then we will have to look the combination of these parents for improvement, either for the growth parameters or for quality parameters. We would be discussing this a little later. And then I feel the most important is that we will have to have a parental control, and we'll have to also have a breeding program for resistance. Resistance could be of many types. Say, for example, you have a genotype which has all good characteristics available in it. However, fails at the insect incidences or at various disease incidences. In that case, you need to have a very foolproof long-term program for either of these. At times, even salinity, and many more factors you can keep on talking about here. But broadly, I would say these are three factors which are responsible for whole of the tree improvement program. And in number three, I feel it is the parents which are going to lead whole of the tree improvement program. Let's mind it before we begin the serious business of tree improvement, that your parents have to be upright. If you select good parents, your program is really going to be very successful. In case parents are not of that quality, perhaps you would face intermittently in your long-term tree improvement program that you have somewhere missed a boat. Let me emphasize upon one simple aspect, that is, go to an agriculture crop. You take, for example, wheat, or maybe rice, or maybe maize, or for that matter, any of those tree crops. What you do is that you grow it in the month of, X month, Y month, it attains the vegetative growth, and third or fourth month, it is ready for the harvest. So the cycle is so small, so small. In 3 to 4 months, you can really have a whole business done. You can have you can see a particular crop right from growing to flowering to fruiting and harvesting. In case of wheat, for example, in North India, wheat is grown during winter season, and there is an off season. Once the winter season goes, the crop is harvested, then you will have to grow wheat next year. But what researchers do, they have used these environmental conditions, varying environmental conditions existing in our country. They go to Wellington, it is in Tamil Nadu, they grow an off season crop. What I'm emphasizing upon is that you can have 2 to 3 crops of agriculture crops. You can see their performance and all that. But look at the trees starts flowering after 7 to 8 years or 10 years. There are bamboo species which flower after 40 years or 50 years. There is one species which I have forgotten the name of bamboo, which has not yet flowered. We have not reported that particular species to flower, and the moment it flowers, it dies. So here, long gestation period in trees is a key, and you will have to therefore look for those parameters whereby you can counter age of a tree in such a manner that your program moves with full capacity. with full intensity, and you make good progress. Let's come to a logical framework. Let's come to a logical framework. There are few terms perhaps I would be using here, and later on I would be explaining in much detail. One, that you select the plus trees. This looks to a very simple term, but when you come to really the absolute part of it, it is one of the most difficult to really execute upon. You will have three kind of things. Either you will be developing the gene banks or vegetative multiplication gardens. You would be developing the seed orchards. There could be two kind of seed orchards, either clonal or seedling seed orchards. Then you will be going for the progeny trials, and then you would really be evaluating their performance. And then of course you go for hybridization and other new recombinants. I feel few of the terms would be looking very tough here, but I would try to solve them with ease. I will try to bring you to those terms which you feel are a little difficult here to even think about, and I'm sure you would be enjoying it later on. Let me, make it a little more clear, simplify it. So if you see at the left side, you have genetic diversity as one of the factors. What you do is that you have a base population, and the base population is always needs to be really infused with newer populations or newer parents or newer genotypes, so you can increase it. So if you look at this yellow part, I don't know whether my cursor is visible, Shivani. Okay, anyways, this
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
the cursor is visible.
Sir, it's visible, sir. Can you? Yes, sir. It's visible, sir.
Okay, so here is the
Visible,
genetic
sir.
diversity. If you see this circle, this is genetic diversity, and here's the base population from where you started. So you infuse new populations. Let me put an example, if I can simplify it. When the Green Revolution started, we had a very serious issue of rice and wheat. Then we had brought some populations of wheat and rice from different countries, and we had infused those populations. You just put here those four varieties of wheat what we had brought from US, South America. We had brought from there. So just think those four populations are here, and the population of India what we were having was here. So we infused that and we made this population a little more richer. And then we made selections. We developed our breeding populations, which with much wider, of variability or diversity. And then we started mating different, different genotypes as per our requirements. And then we come to the production populations, and then these production populations start becoming commercial populations. At this point of time, you need to know what exactly is the genetic diversity of your parents, how those genotypes or those parents which you are using are genetically related to each other, how you can hybridize those parents that you will have to see in this breeding population. You will have to also study the breeding, pattern of different genotypes what you have got. And most importantly, my friends, I would feel that you need to know what exactly is the reproductive biology, because it's not important that how do you and how do we meet the parents, how do you mate the parents rather. It is important that you need to know how the reproductive biology is. Once you know, then only the breeding process becomes a little more easier. Come at this production population, again you need to have genetic diversity. You need to know what exactly is the inbreeding coefficient and what are those genotypic characterizations basically which you are planning or you are thinking of bringing to the commercial level. You may ask me that, genetic diversity we are asking, we are analyzing at first place as well as analyzing here. Let me clarify one small thing. If you do not have diversity even in commercial plantations or commercial populations, what happens is such populations or such plantations tend to become resistant or tend to become susceptible to particular insect or particular pathogen, and then the problem starts. And therefore we need to have sufficient diversity not only in breeding populations, but also for the commercial populations. Because if the commercial populations fail, they will be eaten away overnight. There will be, epidemics and pandemics, whatever you call, even for crops, and then it becomes very difficult to maintain with. I'm giving you one simple example to quote with. We started our crop improvement program. I have taken this data from here itself. I mean, from 50 onwards, because I want to try and match it with tree improvement program, the agriculture breeding improvement program, the tree improvement program, and analyze ourselves, have an introspection of ourselves. Where do we really stand in terms of when we compare ourselves with agriculture improvement program, agriculture crop improvement program, genetic improvement program? Let's take few examples I have given. Rice. During 1950-51, the total rice production of India was 20.5 tons, metric tons. In a period of about 60 years, we have come to 95.33 metric ton. And this shows an increase of about 363%. I mean, the productivity of rice has increased in India from 20 to 95 metric ton, which is 363% more than what it was original. Look at wheat. It's a very stable. These are two very stable crops of India, rice and wheat. The productivity, total production of India in 1950-51 was 6.46 metric ton. 2010-2011, it is 80.80, which is 1,150%. It's about 11 and a half times more than what it used to be in 90. So just look what is the way we have traveled from 6 metric ton of production. We have reached at 80.80 metric ton of production. I'm sure all of you would be watching the news. Watching the news, reading the newspapers, magazines, and being, aware citizens. You would also be looking at few of those decisions which Honorable Supreme Court or different courts give. In your perspective, I'm not trying to put you in a dilemma to become, more oriented towards courts and all that. But look from your own perspective. Court says, you know, our food grains are lying on the platform. It's getting really eaten away by the rats and getting decomposed by for some or other factor. And court always says distribute it among the poor ones so that they eat it properly. What I am just correlating those two things. 1950s, we were a hungry country. We were looking for grain from here and there. It is our genetic efforts that these crops have been improved so much genetically that today we are food surplus country. That even courts have to intervene. Courts have to direct the governments that look, how do you manage? You do not have the warehouses. You do not have sufficient space to store these food grains. What you do? Distribute it among the poor. We were in a situation where our food grains were not sufficient to fill our bellies, but today we are that surplus. So these are three figures I have given. So total, if you look, we were having about 50 metric ton, all those crops, oil seeds, pulses, everything, about 50.82. Now it has reached to 241. So the increase about 400 times. I mean, 400%, which is about 4 times than that. Now